Excel as a spreadsheet application has several options to equip an Excel user to enter data perfectly in an Excel worksheet. Data can be entered in so many ways, and also these data can be numbers, text, labels, or something that can be referred to date or time. Now in this particular video, I want to show you different ways you can enter data into your Excel worksheet in Microsoft Excel. As you can see from this worksheet that we have here, because I know how to perfectly enter data in Microsoft Excel, I have this well organized and tabulated data in Microsoft Excel, and this particular data in this worksheet gives you a clear and precise view or elevation. So based on this, I'm going to show you how you can enter data in your cells in Microsoft Excel. So let's quickly jump into it and let's identify this process or these individual approaches. Whenever you want to enter a data in Microsoft Excel, the first thing that you have to note is that you need to identify the cell you want to enter your data. So presently, when I choose this cell with my mouse pointer and click, this cell will be selected, and that cell is going to be the active cell in your Microsoft Excel worksheet. And to identify the active cell, you move below your menu bar, that is the ribbon, and we have this area called the name box, and that is going to show you the cell reference of your active cell. So presently we have H2, meaning we have column H and row 2 selected. So as this cell is selected, this column is also highlighted and this row is highlighted. When I click, I have the I, which is the column I, and then row 2. So now that this cell is selected as the active cell, when you type anything in this cell, you are going to see that particular data in this cell. And then when you want to make this data available in this active cell, we have some keys that can help you to do so, which are the enter key, the tab key, or your arrow keys on the keyboard. Now when I press the enter key, this moves the selection to the next cell that is below the active cell. This is the previous cell that we type our data, and this is the current active cell. When I use the enter key, this has moved the selection from this cell to this particular cell, and this is presently serving as the active cell in our worksheet. So I have entered a data in this particular cell. So this is the first approach. You type and press the enter key. You can also select the cell. So now I have this data in this cell, and my cursor is blinking in this particular cell. If I use the tab key on the keyboard, this moves the cell or the selection to the right of the previous active cell. So this is the current active cell, and this was the previous cell that we selected and entered our data. So these are the traditional way of entering data in Microsoft Excel using your enter key and also the tab key. Now if I select this cell or this and type the next data, whether a number, now when I use the down arrow key, this moves to the cell below this active cell. When I use the right, up, and left, so I can use the directional keys or the arrow keys on my keyboard to move to the next cell, whether to the right, the left, below, or up the active cell that is going to contain my data. So when I use the up, down, left, or right, after entering your data in any cell in Microsoft Excel, you can use your enter key, your tab key, your arrow keys. You can also move further to use your shift key and the tab key, which will also move your selection backwards. That works similarly to the left arrow key on the keyboard. So this is the first approach to enter data in Microsoft Excel. Another way to enter a data is to use an additional key on the keyboard, which is a special purpose key known as the Alt key or the alternate key. Now if I enter a data in this active cell that I have here, now when I use the Alt key and the enter key, this is going to break this cell and then move the blinking cursor below the data that I type in this active cell, and therefore I can enter another data in this particular cell, and I can use the Alt and the enter key once again. Now after doing so, when I press the enter key, see what happens here. It means that I have multiple data entered in one cell or a single cell, and that is going to expand the cell so that it can contain those data I have typed. and these data are in vertical form because I have not typed them horizontally. Rather, when I type the first data, I use the Alt key and the Enter key to break the cell and move to the next line in the same cell, and that has allowed me to enter multiple data or content in a single cell. So you can see how this has expanded this active cell to contain this data. This is also another way of entering data in Microsoft Excel. Another traditional way of entering data is when you select your active cell, you can move above your worksheet, and we have this area or this section which is called the formula bar. Now when you click, you have your cursor blinking, and that is going to tell you that whatever data you type in this section or area will be located in this active cell. So let's type something here. So you can observe when I'm typing, you can see the effect in the active cell. So now that I have this done, when I press the Enter key, this is going to keep that data in that particular cell. So the formula bar is also an assistance of data entry in Microsoft Excel. Let me show you another trick in entering data. Let's assume that when you type a data in a cell, after pressing the Enter key, you don't want the selection to move to a different cell. Rather, you want to still maintain the selection around that particular active cell. Then this is the trick. When you select the cell and type the data, instead of pressing the Enter key, you can use the Control key and the Enter key. Now this keeps the data in that cell and still maintain or select that active cell. Rather, you don't see any blinking cursor in that particular data. The reason is, there are so many reasons of doing this, is because if you want to quickly make changes to this data, you can double click, or you can click in the formula bar and make your changes. Or when you select the cell, you can press the F2 on the keyboard, and that is going to apply the blinking cursor. Then you can make your changes to this particular data, and after doing so, you can press the Enter key, or if you want to keep the selection around the active cell, you hold the Control key and the Enter key. The next approach of entering data in a cell is if you have a particular or a specific data you want to have in multiple cells, then we have a trick that you can use to do so. So when I get to this area and select this cell, what I have to do is to select the cells that I want them to consist of that particular data or that specific data. So when I click and drag, this becomes my selection. Now this is a range of cells, and in this range of cells we have a particular cell that is white in color and the others are in gray color. This tells you that in this range of cells, this is the active cell, and that is column I and then also row 7, and that is what is found in the name box. But when you check this particular row, you can see that all these rows are selected from 7 to 14, but one has to be the active cell which is going to contain our data. And when you move to the name box, this tells you the active cell that you have in this range of cell. Now when I type a data, now instead of pressing the Enter key, when I press the Enter key, this will allow me to enter different data in this range of cells. But in this case, we want to have this similar data across all these selected cells. So to do this, you hold the Control key and press the Enter key. So you can see how this has filled down this data in this active cell to these passive cells in this range of cells. Another way is when you select the range of cells, when you type the data, and then when you hit the Enter key, now this becomes a passive cell, and then this becomes the current active cell, which can also consist of a data. Now one impressive thing about this range of cells is that now when I get to this last cell in this range of cells and press the Enter key, this is going to start from the first cell in this range of cells, and that can also allow you to enter a new data or make changes to that data in this range of cells. That is one important thing about range of cells. Whenever you select range of cells, you can have your specific data cut across, which is not going to move from that range of cells. So this is also another way of entering data in Microsoft Excel. let's assume that you have multiple worksheets in your Excel workbook, and then there is a data you want to enter in this individual worksheet which is also similar, but rather you don't want to get to the individual worksheet and then manually type this data across. Rather, you want to have this data inserted straightforward and then instantly into this individual worksheet. So let me show you an example. If I select this worksheet and then hold the shift key and select this particular worksheet, this tells you that we have selected these 4 worksheets, which are week 1, week 2, week 3 and week 4. Now these sheets are selected. If I move to this particular sheet and select this cell and then type a data across this particular worksheet, now when I use Control and enter, when I move to this worksheet, you can see that I have this data here, and also this data here. It means that I have entered a similar or a particular data that has been cut across different worksheets at a time. So when I move to week 1, let me deactivate this, right click and choose on group sheet. Now we have this individual worksheet available. If I select week 4, I have this data here, week 3, week 2 and week 1. So you can see that all these data are entered in this individual worksheet. So this is also another way of inputting data in your cells or different worksheets. Now the last approach I want to show you is an advanced way of entry data, and this is going to be a gist of this particular data entry, because I'm going to have a separate video on this particular data entry in Microsoft Excel. And to do this, you need to activate a particular option in Excel. And what I'm going to do is to move to the quick access toolbar, click on this arrow and move to more commands. Now when I get to this interface, I'm going to select quick access toolbar and then move to this area and choose this arrow and select all commands. Now I am going to glance through these options and I'm going to look for a particular content, a particular element or tool that is called form. So we move to the F section. So I have gotten to this area and we have this option known as form. I'm going to click and choose add, and I have this command added to the quick access toolbar, and I'm going to click on OK from this interface. Now when I get to this interface, I have this option on the quick access toolbar, and to do this I'm going to select this column headers and click on this button or this command. Now when I do so, what you can see here is that I have this beautiful form fields window, and then this tells you that I am in this week 1 sheet. So you can see that on the title bar of this form I have week 1, and then when you move to the sheet tab I have week 1 here, meaning I am located in this particular worksheet. And then in this worksheet I have this column headers available, which are name, class and age, and that is what we have here. And what we also have is you can enter some criteria or some content that is going to correspond to this column headers. So if I select this and after typing this data, I can use the tab key and move to this field. Now when I'm done, I'm going to click on this new option. See what happens here. This data is going to be entered into this particular cells under this column headers. And as I said, I'm going to create a separate video and explain this window to you and how to utilize it, and also go through all these options that we have here in Microsoft Excel. So these are the ways that you can enter data in Microsoft Excel. Let's put them into practice and be an Excel expertise.